We have this thing called transactions or atomic transactions, and this can appear in different places. Let's first talk about databases. So let's imagine that we have some operation which is going through different rows of a database, and it is checking each row and is taking the amount in that row and it's summing them, right? So each time it hits a row, it's going to say, okay, we've checked this row. We're going to update this checked value in that row to true, and we're going to remember that 10, and then we're going to do that for each row and sum these up. 10 plus 20 plus 50 is going to be 80 at the end. And so if we wanted to do this operation as part of a database transaction, basically what we would say is that each one of these individual operations, we're going to go through each one, and if any of those fail, then we're going to have to roll back all of the others that we've already done. In other words, if this check succeeded and we marked this as true, but then this check failed, then we have to go back and mark this as false again. We have to roll this operation back. And so you can sort of think of this as like packaging a whole bunch of database operations or transformations together such that they either all succeed or all get rolled back. And this is useful because in the case that any one of those individual operations fails, we don't want the ones that had already succeeded to sort of stay in that half-done state. We want it to return to the original sort of default state, right? So that's a database transaction, and we also have something called a distributed transaction. So this is when we take that same concept of having all of these different individual units of operations or updates to a system, and we're imagining that each one of those happens in a different service or a different app, let's say. And so what we want to happen in a distributed transaction is that each one of these individual operations, if any one of those in its individual app fails, we want to roll everything back. So let's see a couple different ways to accomplish that. Okay, so let's imagine that we have a web application, which is some kind of e-commerce site. So the user can make an order, let's say for some clothing, and an order service is going to orchestrate payments and fulfillment. So let's kind of figure out what's going to happen, right? So the order service is going to hit the payment service to charge the money. Payment service might say, okay, that's fine, that worked. Then the order service, which is sort of orchestrating all these things, right? It's going to hit the fulfillment service, and it's going to say, okay, can we, do we have the actual physical resources? Let's say in this case,